A scholar in the family. "Something's wrong with the sheep," Uncle Robert said. He crossed the hall and sank into the settle by the fire. "They won't eat. Some of them can hardly stand. I don't know what we're going to do. It's shearing time next week. We need the wool money. Yet if we shear them while they're sick, they'll die." When Aunt Alice called him to supper, he came to the table and said a prayer, but he didn't talk after that, and he only picked at his food. Instead of getting better, the sheep grew worse. More of them sickened each day. Uncle Robert looked at them and shook his head. When Sunday came, William got ready to leave right after breakfast. Ever since he had left school, he had spent his Sundays with the Brewsters. After going to church with them, he would go back to the manor house for dinner. Then during the long afternoon, he would study and talk about things with Mr. Brewster. From Mr. Brewster, William learned history and geography and religion. They studied books of Latin together. They talked about the Bible. They talked about Holland, where Mr. Brewster had lived. They talked about the New World, America, which only a handful of Englishmen had ever seen. Mr. Brewster had a room with more than 100 books in it. William had never seen so many books in his life. When he asked Mr. Brewster if he had read them all yet, the postmaster laughed and said, "These and many more, William. Books are my worst weakness." Already William had begun taking books home with him. When he had finished with one book, he would take it back and get another. And each time he and Mr. Brewster would talk about the book he had been reading. There was so much to learn. But on this Sunday, when the lambs were sick, Uncle Robert said, "It might be you could do more good minding the lambs with me than going off to stick your nose in a book." "I'll come back right after church if you want me to," William said. Never mind, William. We'll make out somehow." After dinner, William and Mr. Brewster went into the study. As always, William looked eagerly at the rows of books on the shelves. One book caught his eye. "Why," he said, "you've got a book about farming, too." "Why, yes, because I take care of the Archbishop's lands. I have to know something about farming, you see." William had never thought of Mr. Brewster as a farmer. Suddenly he had an idea. "Our lambs are sick," he said. "Do you think the book could tell us what to do for them?" "Let's look," said Mr. Brewster. He opened the book. 500 Points of Good Husbandry, the title page said. He turned the pages. The big book was full of advice to farmers and housewives. It told them when to plant their crops, how to foretell the weather, how to make good cheese, and many other things. At last William found what he was looking for. "Here it is," he shouted. "Why, it's all in poetry. Listen." He picked up a pen from Mr. Brewster's table and copied the directions on a piece of paper. "Seethe water and plumb therein plenty of sloes. Mix chalk that is dried in powder with those. Which so if ye give, with the water and chalk, thou makest the lax from thy sheep away walk." "Maybe I'd better take it home to Uncle Robert right away," he said. When he reached home, Uncle Robert was out in the sheep pen. He had put all the sick sheep there to keep the others from getting sick. William handed him the paper. "That's what we have to do to the sheep," he said. "I copied it out of a book at Mr. Brewster's." "A book?" said Uncle Robert. "What do books know about farming?" But he took the paper and looked at it. "It's in your hand," he said. "It's best you read it to me." So William read it out to Uncle Robert. "Things couldn't be much worse than they are," Uncle Robert said. "We'll try it." William followed him up to the house. They went into the kitchen. They took Aunt Alice's pots and pans off their hooks and began to make the medicine. Aunt Alice came into the kitchen. "William Bradford," she screeched, "what do you mean by dirtying all my pots and pans? Robert, how dare you stand there and let him make a ruin of my kitchen?" "We're busy, Alice." Uncle Robert spoke quietly but firmly. "You'd best go back to the hall and leave us alone." Aunt Alice stood in the doorway with her mouth opening and closing like a fish, but no sound came out of it. Then she turned around with a great rustling of her skirts and disappeared through the door. William grinned. Never before had he felt so close to his uncle. When the medicine was made, they carried it out to the pen and gave it to the sheep. The very next day the sheep were better. In 3 days they were as healthy as ever. A few nights later, William brought out the book he had borrowed from Mr. Brewster. He sat by the fireside to read it. "There goes William, sticking his nose in a book again," Tom said. "Mind your tongue," said his father. "It's a good thing for all of us that we've a scholar in the family." No one ever made fun of William again for his reading.